Right, we are on to blushes. This drawer actually definitely needs to declutter some because it is overflowing. This is not including my face palettes, which will be its own separate video. So here's what we're working with. Let's declutter. All right, here is an overview. I definitely feel like I have too many. I am also somebody that does not necessarily have a collection, if you will. I like to have enough that I can showcase, you know, high end and low end, and then I obviously like to have enough to kind of get me through, you know, winter, spring, summer, fall, have different tones, undertones, so on and so forth. But my goal in all of my declutters always is just to get everything down to kind of what I'm going to use consistently, my favorites, and I want to know and see what I have. I don't like to have products on top of products, and I need everything to fit in one drawer. So with that being said, please don't forget to subscribe and give the video a thumbs up if you do enjoy. I hope you'll join my beauty family, and let's dive in. I think I'll go ahead and first start with the Made by Mitchell blushes. I definitely do not need 4 of these. I feel like I can go ahead and get rid of this one right here. This is in the shade A Shy Boy. I do really love this formula. It is quite intensely pigmented. I do like that it is a doe foot applicator. They're super pigmented, but also very, very easy to blend out. They are quite long wearing on the skin too. I think they're a beautiful product, and they almost kind of melt down or kind of sheer out to almost like a velvety powder type of formula. They're super, super pretty. I definitely have enough though, so I think I'm going to declutter that one. I'm going to be keeping Peach Sugar. I like the richness in this one, so I think I kind of prefer this one to the other one, the Darling Peach, so I will be holding on to this one. Next up is the shade Melon Sorbet. I do also think I'm going to declutter this one. I just don't like the shade of it for me personally. It's not one that I gravitate towards super, super often, so I'm going to declutter this one. And then last up for the Made by Mitchell blushes, I'm also going to be keeping Darling Peach. This one, again, kind of like this one over here, has just a little bit more richness to it, and I really like the undertone. If you can kind of see, this one's more kind of cantaloupe-y. Not my all-time favorite, but again, I love the formula. Also noting too, I say this with every, let me wipe myself while we're talking. I say this with every declutter. Another reason that I am very consistent in decluttering is obviously space and things like that. I want to have a minimalist collection. I want to use up what I have, but I also do not want to run the risk of anything going bad. And I say this every single time. If a product at any time has changed in its texture, its tone, its consistency, most importantly, and most noticeably, the scent, please toss it. Oftentimes with powder products, they can be sanitized a little bit easier. They don't go bad as quickly. And anything that I do kind of get rid of, if it's trash, obviously goes to the trash. If it's very well used, very well loved, I'll pass it along to friends and family. And if it is still in great condition, it will go into my resale group, which is always linked in my description box. Okay. Next up is the Moira Cosmetics. As you can see, I've used the heck out of this. This is the cream blush in My Darling, or the liquid blush, excuse me. Quite affordable. I love how massive the doe foot is here, and I love the shade of this. It's so incredibly beautiful. This very much reminds me of the Made by Mitchell ones, although these have a little bit more of kind of a satin-esque type of quality to them. They're really, really beautiful. Again, very long wearing. I really do like this shade, so I'm going to hold on to this one. Next up, we'll jump over to the BFC, which I think is Beauty for Certain. This is the cream blush in shade 27. As you can see, it's kind of a raspberry tone. This one right here, I think you can kind of see, even with me kind of manipulating it, it's a little bit more, I guess, dense, a little bit more kind of opaque and like slightly more matte in the pan. This one does blend out really, really well. I don't feel like I need this one because I have a preference for the Tarte one, and I probably have a couple more shades that are very similar to this, and I don't need a million of the shades, so I am going to go ahead and pass that one along. Next up, I have this Ilia blush stick in the shade Dreamer. I feel like with the shade of this, it's kind of similar to some of the other ones that I kept from the Made by Mitchell line. So solely because of that, and again, I don't need a ton, I am going to go ahead and declutter, but this goes on very, very smoothly. It does also last a long time. I really like the finish of this as well, but I do not need it. I have enough. Next up, we have another Moira Cosmetics product. This is the Ombre Blush in Morning Sunshine. I just don't gravitate toward it, and I really do not like this shade right here, how it looks on my skin. I will note, though, especially if you have deeper skin tones, their blush formula, you guys, is incredibly intense. Very, very rich, super, super high pigment. So if you're looking for a more affordable brand that has a great level of inclusion, highly, highly recommend. They're also incredibly affordable, but gonna go ahead and declutter. Next up is the Natasha Denona My Mini Dream Glow Blush. I think it's just called Glow Blush. This is a little mini. I really like this, and I don't have a whole lot, as you'll kind of see. I don't have a whole lot that's more kind of mauve toned or a little bit more cooler undertones. And I do like the fact that this has a deeper and a lighter shade, and this highlight shade is so incredibly beautiful. I really like this, and I've used it a ton. Hopefully you can tell that. So I'm going to hold on to this. Next up, I have a couple of e.l.f. putty blushes. I have a putty blush and a luminous putty blush. The luminous is in the shade Isla del Sol, and the other one is in the shade Bali. I feel like the Bali I can probably let go. It's a little deep, especially if it's not like kind of spring and summertime. And again, I have plenty that are in this kind of same shade family. This one right here is more along the lines of the BFC one, where it's a little bit more firm in the pan. It's not like so liquidy and so glidey that it feels like lotion, if you will. Blends out easily, staying power is there. I just don't need it, so we'll declutter. The luminous one in this hot orange is really the only color that I have that's like this, and it is more of a summertime shade. As you can see, not like intensely super glidey, but I love that because I feel like we get a little bit more pigmentation. You can kind of build this up. And the level of sheeniness here is just that. It's a level of shine. It's not glitter. It's not like super shimmery or anything like that. I really love this formula. I do need to get some more use out of this for the summertime because it's kind of, for me, more of a summertime shade. So I think I'm going to put this in my everyday drawer, but I'm going to keep it. Next up, I have this cute little palette from JOUER. This is the Rose Gold Blush Duo with Marigold and Rose Petal. I do have an affiliated code with JOUER. It is the Brutally Honest Beauty for 15% off. Solely because I don't really reach for these as often, and they're more, to me, more like highlighters or like blush toppers. I'm going to go ahead and declutter, but I really do like the shades. They're really, really pretty, and they last a long time on my skin, but I don't need it. We're going to declutter. Next up is the LA Girl, the Rosy Glow Envy Bouncy Blush. I've actually used this and the new bronzer that they launched quite a bit. I'm hoping you can see in me just barely tapping this. This is what I mean by a more firm or more matte type blush versus something super creamy. Like this is insanely creamy, like very, very glidey. But the way that this looks on the skin, it has a little bit of a luminous quality to it, but it goes from being kind of a little too slippy, if you will, to like kind of setting down almost instantly, like very, very quickly. And it's a beautiful kind of velvet type finish, so it's incredibly pretty. I think I'm going to put this in my maybe pile just because I'm not sure how many I have that are this color, but this formula is great. But if I have too many, I will declutter. But for now, I'll put it over there in the maybe pile. Next up is a new Holy Grail and a new love. This is the Honey Thief Cream Blush Light from Melt Cosmetics. This was a recommendation from my beautiful friend Debuton, and I got it for 50% off. Yes, please. This also is, hopefully you can see, quite slippy and quite thin of a formula. And it does kind of the same thing that this one right here does, where as you start to apply it, first of all, it blends out incredibly well. It shears out and just looks beautiful on the skin. And aptly named. It's a blush with a little bit of light, a little kiss of a highlight, you know, kind of sheeniness from within. This one does not dry down all the way in the way that this one does, but I love that, and I love how this looks on my skin, so I'm definitely keeping that. Next up is another Holy Grail and another love. This is the NYX Buttermelt Blushes. This is a newer launch for them, and I have the shade Filling Butter. And I love the packaging. I love the concept of this. I think they're so beautiful. The shade of this is absolutely stunning, and it offers a little bit of sheeniness, but again, quite flattering. It's not glittery, it's not big chunky particles or anything like that. This one right here I use this as like a bronzer, a blush topper, a bronzer topper. I can use it in so many different ways. It is intense. It is very, very pigmented, very long lasting on the skin. I love this. I don't often find, viral products that I'm like, oh, hell yeah, that's viral for a reason. This is viral for a reason. Keeping. Next up, I have the Big Date blush by The Balm. And I can't even remember if I've used this, which probably is not a good sign. Yeah, I don't even think I've touched this yet. And I do know that I have some that are very similar to this. So for that reason alone, I'm going to declutter. Next up, I have a cream blush from Tower 28. This is the Office Hours Beach Please. And solely because I have enough, I am going to go ahead and declutter it. It is another one that has more of the kind of slippy cream formula to it. I really do like the shade of this. This is another one that doesn't sometimes all the way set down. I don't mind that. I have dry skin. But yeah, I really do like it. I just have enough, so we'll declutter. Next up is the Danessa Myricks Beauty Blush in Rosé and Brunch. I think I'm going to hold on to this one. This is one that is a little bit thicker. Has more of a more opaque and like matte type formula that I've been talking about. Incredibly well, glides on incredibly well. It smooths out. You can really intensify it and build it up. It is also quite long lasting on my skin. I like the formula of this one. I am going to also keep this one. This is another one that has a little bit of like a blurring property to it, or kind of a velvet property to it, if you will. Next up is the Double Dipper, the Color Duo by Half Caked. This is in the shade or the colorway Siesta Key. And I have also never used this, so obviously I do not need it. I have plenty. I'm going to go ahead and declutter. And this is more of a bronzer, not a blush, so I do apologize. Next up, I have a couple of the Keys Soul Care Cream Blushes. This is actually my favorite cream blush of all time. The Tarte is pretty damn close though. But I do have these shades Grace and Sensual. I think I'll go ahead and declutter Grace only because I have some shades that are very similar. This is kind of a mid-ground between being slippy and being more kind of like solid or firm and more opaque. Again, it blends out incredibly well. I love the shade of this. I think it's super pretty. They wear incredibly well, but I have enough I do not need. Now this one right here, I'm definitely holding on to, especially I love, love, love this for winter months. It is this beautiful berry shade, wine shade. It's so incredibly stunning. It looks beautiful on the skin. These leave a little kiss of like a sheeniness to them. It's beautiful, very long wearing. You can make it super opaque, make it super punchy, but it also blends out incredibly well and you can kind of sheer it out. So keeping that one as well. Next up, I have the Smashbox Halo Sheer to Stay Color Tint for lip and cheek. This is in the shade Wisteria. I've also used this quite a bit. I kind of prefer it for my lips, not going to lie. And this is not often a color that I use solely for that reason. I'm going to go ahead and pass it along. Next up are these two Tarte blushes. These are the Maracuja Juicy blushes. I have coconut and I have apple. I think because the apple, I pretty much only have this one as far as a true kind of red watermelon-y shade. I'm definitely going to keep this. This is another one that kind of has that mid-ground of being a little bit more, slippy, if you will, but also incredibly pigmented. I think you can really see here, though, this one is very, very slippy, very glowy. And it does not set down on the skin, so if you do not like that, you would not like this. But I think it's so, so pretty. I love it. Next up is the other shade, the coconut shade. This one is honestly a little bit kind of too light for me as a blush, but then a little bit too deep if I wanted to go in and try to use it as like a highlighty shade. So only for that reason, I feel like somebody else could get better use out of it, so I will declutter. Also, if this gets too long, you know what I say. Grab your tacos and your tequila, your milk and cookies, your Doritos, Cheetos, Fritos, whatever's your pleasure, and sit back and relax and enjoy the show. I do greatly appreciate you taking the time to come and watch. Another super viral product that I thought deserved the virality are the Milk Makeup Jelly blushes. And we have the shades Spritz and Burst. I like both of these equally. I think they are super duper pretty. I do keep the cap and stuff on because I already know for myself that a product like this is going to dry out. But I like that it was a cool concept. It's something just different and unique. I love that these can be used on the lips. I have used them on the lips and on the cheeks. You cannot go straight to the cheek. And I've seen people try to use them like that and then they hate them. I go on a fluffy brush and kind of take the brush and do this and then tap it and press it into the skin, or I will use them as they are on my cheeks. Love the colors, love the texture. They have this beautiful kind of cooling sensation to them. They feel really nice. They last forever, you guys. And I love both shades equally, so I am keeping both. I'm actually gonna keep this on here and I'll try to wipe it off and show you guys. Like when they say, look, long wearing, y'all, this is very long wearing. I love these. Next up is an OG favorite. It is the Clinique Cheek Pop in the shade Fig Pop. I feel like, I don't know, that texture is so lovely. It's almost like a baked, it's almost like a beautiful like baked type formula. And the way that this sits on the skin, even here, hopefully you can see that it has a beautiful level of sheeniness to it. It kind of, you guys, reminds me of how the Hourglass like products feel. And look, it's super blurring on the skin. It looks incredibly pretty. I think it just kind of diffuses the light and it has just the perfect amount for me of sheen. I was gonna get rid of it, but now I'm looking at it and I think I need to keep it because it's that darn beautiful. Next up, another one that I've used consistently is the Winky Lux Liquid Blush. This is the Cheeky Rose Liquid Blush in the shade Darling. I love everything about this. I love the packaging. I love the way that it is applied. I will go in with one tiny little dot. You can see incredible pigment here. This does blend out so well, but you can also punch it up. Now, again, that's my favorite type of formulation. I like something that if I need to punch it up, I can, but I can also sheer it out. It wears well. It looks really, really beautiful. I'll also note, obviously, I have dry skin. I have textured skin. I will wear products that don't accentuate my texture or that I feel more comfortable and more confident in. If you do not like these products, that is totally fine, y'all. It is just makeup. It ain't that serious. Moving on. And all that to say, I'm keeping this. I did just wipe off all the swatches and you guys can see that the Milk makeup is still there. Like it's not going anywhere. Like when you are ready to take it off, you can get it off. But unless you want it to be gone, it's not going to go anywhere. Next up are two P. Louise, the Cheek of It blushes. I have the shades Peach of My Heart and Sun Kiss Miss. I feel like I have enough, and TBH, I hate this packaging. I've never gotten it to be able to work the way that I need it to work. Like it takes forever. Now these are incredibly beautiful and they also have that kind of soft velvety matte type of finish to them. So they're incredibly beautiful. I just don't like the packaging. So they're gonna go. Next up, I have a little mini of the Rare Beauty blush in the shade Happy. I honestly feel like I have kept enough and I didn't even open this yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter. Next up, I have this really pretty kind of peachy, coppery blush with a lot of sparkle in it. It's all laced up, super shock cheek in the shade Pearlized. And I feel like I do want to keep it. I don't have a whole lot that's like this, and I think it's going to look really, really beautiful, especially in the summertime. So actually I need to probably take this out and start using it a little bit more consistent. I think it's super pretty. They last a long time on the skin. I like that little bit of kind of sheeniness, that kind of glimmer. And I know not everybody likes that, but I really like them. And obviously, you know, ColourPop quite affordable as well. So I'm going to hold on to this. Next up is the Too Faced Cloud Blush. This is in the shade Head in the Clouds. Packaging here, 10 out of freaking 10. So beautiful. I've only used it one time. I honestly don't foresee myself using it very often. It's not a shade that I kind of reach towards all the time. Solely for that reason, I'm going to declutter. Next up, I have two powder made by Mitchell blushes. I have the Ain't It Almond and the 90s Nude. I think I'm going to hold on to both. I don't have a whole lot that's kind of in this spectrum of these types of shades. This one right here has a little bit of like a sheeny quality to it. I can also get away with using this as a bronzer. Really like these. These I will note though that they're super, super pigmented. You kind of have to work fast and kind of get them buffed out and diffused out quickly, or they can kind of stick in place. This one right here also very, very pretty. Intense, intense pigmentation. I love these. They are bulletproof. They last forever. I'm keeping both. I feel like I'm keeping so many, you guys. Next up is also a new one to me. I was on the hunt this summer to find more of like the watermelon-y or like berry type shades like this. This one is from House Labs. This is their Color Fuse Blush. This is in Watermelon Bliss. Love the packaging. I think it's so pretty. I have not used it yet. I do feel like I want to try it, but do I really need, you know, more than one or two of these kind of raspberry shades? I don't think so. I'm going to put this in my for sale group, but I think I'll wait and get you guys' feedback. If you've tried this blush and this is like a girl, you need to keep that, then I'll keep it, but it's going to go for now. All right, noting, I just wiped the swatches off again and you can still see the milk makeup. Let me pull these a little closer to me. Next up is another one that I recently discovered and another viral one that I think is well worth of the virality. It's the new Huda Beauty one in Watermelon Pop. It's their blush filter. This is another one that is, oh my gosh, is it freaking pigmented. Like you need that much, you guys, and that I'm not shitting you. That's all you need. If you do more than that, you're going to be blending for a year. This is another one that the level of pigmentation is there. It's incredibly impactful, very, very pigmented, but you can also shear it out. I will say though, to start with a less is more approach, because if you put too much, it is going to take you a little while to blend it out. I like that it does give a little filtered effect to the skin. It looks beautiful. I really love the color, so I'm going to keep. Next up, I have this mini Benefit, the Terra. Let me kind of compare it to this one right here. Those are definitely not the same. I don't really feel like I reach for either one of these. This one is the Tease Suit of Armor in the shade Don't Blush Me. And I like this and I've used it quite a bit, but I feel like I have enough and I don't need multiples of the same shade. I still feel like I have too much, but I'm gonna go ahead and declutter both. Next up is this beautiful by Terry quad. This is actually called the Brightening CC palette. I use it as a blush. And I like to, you know, if I go more cool tone, I can use this one right here. This one's a little bit more kind of soft and peachy. These are a little bit more neutral. Now, these don't have a ton of pigmentation to them, not gonna lie to you, but the way that they look on the skin and the way that they kind of glide on, they also have that beautiful kind of gossamer lit from within effect. These also remind me of Hourglass powders, so if you do have dry skin or more mature skin, they're stunning. I'm gonna keep. Next up, I have two of the liquid blushes from Born Ruby. These are the Oh So Natural blush drops. I started off with the Peach, and then I ended up purchasing the Organza Rose. I'm gonna go ahead and declutter the Organza Rose. It's still new, I have not opened it yet. I just feel like if I haven't used it yet, I'm not going to, and again, I have enough. Again, not my favorite kind of packaging, but at least this one comes out. But I like to take and just do a couple little dots. It is quite intense, quite pigmented. Now this one has a little bit of a thicker consistency to it. It almost feels like a whipped type formula, but it lasts a really long time. It blends out incredibly well, so definitely holding on to that one. I think I can go ahead and declutter the Alamar Colorette one, and this is a beautiful peachy, like nude shade. Really, really pretty, but I feel like the ones that I kept from Made by Mitchell, I like a little bit more, and obviously I don't need to keep multiples, so I'll go ahead and declutter. Next up, I have this little cutie patootie. This is the Seraphine Botanicals Periwinkle Pop. I have enough, I'm gonna declutter. I have a Patrick Ta, She's Adorable, the Monochrome Moment palette, blush. This one right here, I think I think because the closest thing that I had to this was the Tarte one. It's kind of that same kind of neutrally soft peachy with like a little bit of luminescence to it, if you will. I feel like I like this and I like the powder formula better, so I am going to go ahead and hold on to this. But again, kind of everything that I keep or have is following along the same type of lines, y'all. Next up is the One Size by Patrick Starr Cheek Clapper Trio in Attention Seeker. And for me, this has been a standout because I don't normally gear toward these colors, like ever. But I like the fact that there's a cream, a powder, and then the more highlighty or like blush topper shade. Actually, I'm wearing this today. But the formula is great, really nice pigment to it, but it doesn't like kind of stick and stay in place. It blends out really well, very long lasting on the skin. And I just love the concept of having everything together. It does get kind of messy, but I really like it. I think they are also worth the virality. And then last, but certainly not least, is the blush in the shade Mai Tai. It's a liquid to baked smoothing blush from Ofra. And I also don't even think that I've used this yet. And I did get it because I am a peachy orange like blush fan. I do have enough, so I am also going to declutter that. Y'all know the drill. We're gonna count up everything we're decluttering, everything we're keeping. I will BRB. All right, we are keeping 1, 2, decided to keep this for now, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, 22, and 23. So keeping 23. And we are decluttering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and I did decide to declutter this, so 24. We're keeping 23, decluttering 24. And I met my goal. Again, I have a very minimalistic collection, you guys. That is my point to my declutters, is keeping everything very minimal. Reaching for things that I know I'm going to, first of all, be able to reach and see and know what I have. And I want to use up what I have, you guys. I want to love things and use them up. So I think I did great. My declutter I wanted to do by about half, and I met that goal. Everything that I kept will fit in my drawers, so that makes me very happy. Let me know what you guys think. How did I do? What are your favorite blushes? Comment down below. Let's have that conversation. I hope you'll stick around and join my beauty family. Thank you to my beautiful channel members. I love you. Stay happy, healthy, and safe. And of course, be your own best beautiful. Bye, y'all.